I'd like to introduce you to a new segment on this Time for Living. It's called Medical Minute.
Farts Network, you know.
Yeah, you look good.
It's a segment that looks at medical issues
And provides you with tips and or suggestions that will hopefully inform and assist you to have a healthier and more productive life.
For instance, what is a good night's sleep? That's a question best answered by the way you feel and perform during the day. A recent study of older adults showed that between 10 to 20% of the elderly complain of persistent insomnia, with women outnumbering men 2 to 1.
And while we don't know what a normal sleep pattern is for older adults, we do know that our usual sleep pattern changes over the decades. For more about insomnia in this week's Medical Minute, we turn to Dr. Alan Abrams, Medical Director for the Division of Geriatrics at the Cambridge Hospital and Harvard Medical School.
Okay.
If you have any questions or comments for Dr. Alan Abrams, then write to him here.
Okay, same address. Okay.
No, I'm getting...
I hear, but you don't?
I'm not hearing.
Are you plugged in?
Something's happened to my ear. Oh, wait a minute.
It just fell out.
Where the hell does it plug in? No, it's telephone. Somebody better check this ear. Coming up next, the do's and don'ts of looking for a job in the later years.
Crossing the country on 2 wheels and a lot of heart in our second effort salute.
And we'll take a tour of Britain's museums and America's jewel, the Smithsonian. All this and more is coming your way right here next on Time for Living. And welcome to Time for Living. I'm Howard Nielsen.
And I'm Janet Jagalian. For our first-time viewers, we'd like to welcome you to our show that focuses on the achievements and issues facing people in their later years.
And for our faithful viewers, we thank you for watching us every week as we bring you people and places that make our later years a time for living.
While seeking a new job can be frustrating and discouraging for some people, it can even be more overwhelming for older Americans looking for work for the first time in their careers, especially those close to retirement age.
That being said, it doesn't mean it's impossible to find a job, nor does it mean you have to be alone during the process. As Time for Living correspondent Steve Brown tells us, in New England, there is certainly a lot of help out there.
New England's job market is changing. Every year, workers, including many older Americans, find themselves out of a job. But with some planning and forethought, you can get back to work.
The hardest thing to do is to accept what has happened and recognize that a change has to be made.
The first stop towards that change may be the state's Department of Employment and Training. What used to be known as the Unemployment Office is now an incredible resource for people looking for a job.
There's 22,000 open jobs today in our training and employment directory, and that's only a small slice of the available jobs in Massachusetts. Boston Globe a couple of weeks ago had about 160 some odd pages of help wanted ads. There are jobs out there, and some of these are very well-paying jobs.
While many of those jobs will go to younger workers, Nordberg says there's a need for older workers as well.
We've been very successful in helping older workers come out of computer hardware, go into computer software, in positions not necessarily as a computer programmer or writer of software packages, but in finance and marketing, in a whole range of support services, so that these bright young people with the bright new ideas can fill up their corporate executives' spaces as they grow with people with some business experience that can be very useful to them.
Nordberg says there are 3 things older workers should keep in mind when looking for a new job. First, don't give up. There are thousands of jobs out there, and chances are one is right for you. Second, get some help. Through networking and job counseling, there is no need to go about your job search alone. And finally, give some real thought to what you'd really like to do.
Lots of people can't quite seem to see that glass as being half full. They have to see it as being half empty. Well, you got to turn that around, because there's only one person who's going to be able to go out and sell an employer on hiring you, and that's yourself. You've got to have some faith and confidence in yourself, recognition that you've been successful in the job market for some period of time, that you've lived all these years under some very adverse circumstances, and you know, it's the old bootstraps. Get up there, go out, hit it again, and you're going to win.
I'm Steve Brown. Time for Living.
When we return, we'll learn more about the help available for older Americans seeking employment and the do's and don'ts of landing that job. So stay with us. Camera 1 or 2 now?
Should I look directly at you?
Yeah, we'll just, because that camera is yours. Yes. All right. Okay. Okay. I think probably I'll start off by Welcome back to Time for Living. I'm Janet Jagalian, and joining me on the set for Time for Living to discuss the increasing job horizon for older Americans is Herb Cogliano, president of Sullivan & Cogliano Staffing Services, of the nation's largest employment placement companies, providing job placement around the world, including Hong Kong, Germany, and Switzerland. Mr. Cogliano also initiated the concept of the unique niche between career placement and much-needed technical skills training as it relates to computer training. Welcome to the show, Herb. It's nice to have you with us.
Thank you, Janet.
I think many people who are advancing in age are concerned about whether or not the job they currently have is going to be there for them until retirement time, and what happens after that. And downsizing is suddenly all around us. And so I guess to begin with, could you let us know what the current status is of the job market for older Americans?
Sure. Today is a wonderful time in job opportunities for everyone. However, the rules have changed. The age-old adage of job security for people now, where would be 20 years, has changed to that of employment security, where we need to take proactive responsibility for our own careers. But I believe the market's such that if we are proactive and we get the skills, we can get work and be very productive and valuable to the community.
In other words, if you are downsized because of economic growth around the world and the competition that the company that you're working for has got to deal with, you can still find another job as long as your skills are up to date and you are interested in trying to maintain whatever needs you need to keep that job.
There's always jobs for good people. It's just a function of it's a little harder today to find them than before. You need the skills, you need the experience, and you need the willingness to overcome the adversity of finding the job. With those three things, you can find a viable job for anyone.
And this is regardless of age that you're making this wonderful assertion?
I believe so. Employers today are looking for people with skills, and they're very hard to find. So people of any age and variety, if you have the skills, the confidence, and experience, we need people like that every day.
Years ago, it was believed that when people were downsized or when you got to a certain age, you cost too much for the company to keep you employed, that you had accrued all kinds of benefits and your salary was much too high. Therefore, let's get rid of you, bring in a younger person at a lower wage, and also this would help keep that dynamic profile the company needs. Is that no longer the thinking of corporate America?
I think corporate America has had to adjust, not because of its own accord, but because of the global economy. We are having pressure overseas to be more competitive to control costs. The labor market is a big, important factor in that cost, and the way that's changing is not only in terms of permanent placement, but contract placement and temp to permanent placement. So the rules have changed, but the opportunities are there if you're willing to play a different role, but still get as much job satisfaction back as you would before.
So the big difference too, I imagine, for your company particularly, is that if you can't get a job around America, around the United States, you perhaps can find a job elsewhere around the world.
The opportunities globally now are phenomenal for anyone who's willing to travel. People with bilingual skills, people with financial services background, people that are willing to participate in multicultural environments can do well, and corporate America is looking for them in droves.
I read somewhere where Robert Reich, the former labor secretary, in responding to someone's comment about, get rid of the older workers, they're lacking in energy and that they're just a drag on companies, and he said that's absolute rubbish. If a person has knowledge and they have skills and they're willing to keep their computers, particularly skills, updated, then they're the best asset a company could have.
I would agree. Employers look for two things, skills and experience, and I think age is a state of mind in terms of the employer. If you are somebody who is energetic, assertive, and willing to participate and help the company, we need those people.
I think it's also important to realize that the baby boomers are on the horizon for the older population, and that they're not going to let corporate America rule them out. They have grown up working and believing in the work ethic, and I don't believe any of them are going to be willing to say, come 62 or 65, sayonara. They're going to probably think about other opportunities that should be made available for them as well.
Right. The biggest change I see today is that we are taking responsibility for our own employment. I probably study and train more now on developing my skills than I ever did in college or high school or in grammar school. And I think if we all take that commitment to keep ourselves sharp and upgraded to the current skills and technology, we'll keep that employment security to ourselves, which is most important.
There was a time, I'm sure you probably don't remember because you're so young, but there was a time when people thought that you took your job and you left at 65 and you just went off into the golden years and enjoyed life. But now people are finding either they can't afford to retire, or that there's no challenge in retirement, or they've got to find some other business for themselves to keep them busy. So those are some of the, I think, dilemmas and frustrations that people feel as they approach retirement. But I'm believing that fewer and fewer people are going to think about actual retiring.
That's right. Our staffing division has seen a tremendous surge in the aging population that comes to our doors every day. We see people that don't want to work full-time or within a full venue, but want to have flexibility, diversity in their roles, get additional income, and still feel like they're a needed part of the community. Staffing has allowed our people to do that, and also allowed up to 40% of all of our employees to go permanent with our clients at some future point. Now, is this something that employers are looking for part-time older Americans with experience and who are reliable and who have ability? I think employers are looking to get the best people in any format possible now. They can't afford to be choosy. They need the best, and whatever that format is for the individual, they're willing to be more flexible today than they ever were.
What is the actual status now, though? Are there a lot of older workers who feel that doors have been shut for them? Are they perhaps knocking on the wrong doors, or are they just not willing to work hard to try to update their skills?
What we see every day is that of education. A lot of the people coming in don't know their options available to them. They don't understand that there are people out there looking for them. We try and educate them. We try and give them career paths for their skills. And once they know that, the doors open up and there's the ray of sunshine. But until you know that, there can be cloudy days, and we want to help solve that.
Is the same hold true around the world where the economy is now competitive? I mean, do people have the same problems in Hong Kong or Switzerland as they have here in the United States?
I could tell you, because of the global nature of competition today, that is the case. It's probably more relevant here in America because we are one of the strongest industrialized countries and now going in the technological arena. So that is going to shift, but I think we're probably hitting the first of it here.
In the 60s and 70s, we saw so much of just picking up and moving on within the corporate structure of companies. And I'm sure now the same thing exists for some, perhaps not as widely as it did before, but now you've got to pick up and move to a foreign country.
Some people may. Some people will do it on a short-term basis. They might take a 1 or 2 year stint with the hope that the company will see their type of work and then move them back to this country. Some people that have family will do that, take the family, get into good schools, and then bring them back here. So it's a great opportunity if you like that lifestyle.
I know that there are people, as they approach that horrible year for some, 62 or 65, because they view it in a way as the end instead of a beginning of a new opportunity.
Sure.
But I think you're finding that a lot of people are beginning entrepreneurial businesses later in their life as second careers. I think you're also finding people who have found a hobby that has become a business for them that can turn into a career as well. And so I think the most important message we can give people is that not to lose hope, that there is something there for everybody.
I would agree with you. There is a ray of sunshine for everyone. There's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and if you take the time to be willing to be proactive, call companies like us in the staffing business or training that can help you. Sit down, get an assessment, make a plan, but the main thing is do something. And now, are you speaking only to people who are interested in management kinds of positions or across the board? No, our industry has over 2 million people a day in this country that are working in positions from warehousing, clerical, marketing, finance, all the way up to executive CEOs, lawyers, and paralegals. So you don't have to have an MBA to come knocking on Cogliano and Sullivan's door? Majority of the people don't. And what are the majority looking for? Primarily technical, finance, marketing, sales, administration, and that of engineering and design drafting. How difficult is it for someone at the CEO level who's been displaced or just downsized out of his job to find something comparable? We're seeing that they're handling it two ways. One is they're going into turnaround situations, projects, get a division going, start a new division abroad, or they're turning into consultants. We need you to come in with a certain project for a certain bid, your services are rendered, and then you move on to the next project. I would think that would be really the perfect niche for so many of these people because of their experience and their ability with upper management levels. I mean, they could be a consultant for so many different firms. They've enjoyed it because they know what it's like to be in the corporate culture. They don't want to get into a stagnated state. They have to keep their skills sharp. By going from project to project, they're helping the company, they're spreading their experiences and gaining more credibility in their own portfolio. Boy, the corporate world and the whole work world has changed so incredibly. How do you envision the next change, or is it going to pretty much stay where we're at now for the foreseeable future? I think it's going to be that more accountability for yourself. We're almost going to all be independent contractors of sorts, making sure that we're managing our skills, our benefits, and our work environments. But knowing how to use that environment to your advantage can be one of the best things you've ever seen. Ignoring it and not wanting to participate is going to make you feeling unhappy. And I think now's the time to get involved and participate. And finally, what about the do's and don'ts? What should you totally avoid when you're going to look for a job, and what should you absolutely do in order to get that job? Ultimately, be involved in things you love to do. Make sure that you feel part of a team. do your homework on the company. You owe it as much to yourself to want to be there as much as they want you to be there. And be proactive, be yourself, and be professional.
And be optimistic.
And be optimistic,
Okay.
most definitely.
Thank you so much for spending some time with us and at least lending a ray of hope to everybody out there who might be looking for a job very shortly.
Thank you, Janet, very much.
All right, coming up next in our second effort salute, a woman who has crossed the country on 2 wheels and a lot of heart. You'll meet her when Time for Living continues.
Welcome back to Time for Living. It's time for our second effort salute, where each week we profile individuals who've accomplished their goals, overcome obstacles, or shattered stereotypes about getting older.
And this week's second effort salute goes to a woman who has crisscrossed the United States on her bike 5 times with her husband, and she only began bike riding seriously in her later years.
Barbara Seigert talks with reporter Davida Wright about the aches and pains, the ups and downs, and the exhilaration of her journey in this week's second effort salute.
If someone had told me 30, 40 years ago, when you retire, you're going to ride across the U.S., I would have said, ha.
On the highway of life, Barbara Seigert has found the bicycle to be her vehicle of choice. It's carried her far away from her home in Durham, New Hampshire, to new experiences and friendships around the country.
So I think it was the beauty of the country, meeting the people, that really got us hooked on a wonderful lifestyle, you might say.
Barbara started serious bicycling at the age of 40. Now at 64, she and her husband Richard have crossed the country 5 times.
I had some cabin fever. I just wanted to get out, get some fresh air and a little exercise. So I started riding around my neighborhood and then got my husband interested in these little rides around the neighborhood.
Before you know it, Barbara talked her husband into riding from San Diego to their home, then in Connecticut. That was in 1986. It took 67 days. They rode through wind and rain and suffered many aching muscles, but never stopped.
There must be something about the human mind that doesn't want to remember the bad parts. Because the next morning, yesterday is history. You're ready to go again. It's this great spirit of adventure that gets into you. You just want to see what's down the road and around the next bend.
2 years later, the couple took their second trek, 47 days from Canada to Mexico, then from Maine to Florida, then from Seattle to New Hampshire, and then along the Mississippi River.
What most impressed me was the Southwest and the West Coast. Always having the Pacific Ocean within view and stopping every few minutes to look at beautiful coves and canyons and listen to the seals barking.
Barbara kept a diary of their adventure, and after much prodding, she wrote a book called Bicycle Across America.
I would like to encourage anyone who's ever thought of doing a trip of 3 days or 3 months to look at this book, because it gives every bit of equipment you would need for a trip of any duration.
In the book, Barbara also tells about the many interesting people they've met, the routes they traveled, and she gives advice on how to get started. But most of all, Barbara hopes it will inspire other people to take an adventure.
If there's some adventure or some challenge that you've always dreamed about doing, make up your mind to do it.
Well, that story makes me want to get right out there and ride my bike.
All right. And to think she started this in her 40s. Isn't that incredible?
Amazing.
Now, if you know someone like Barbara and you think they're worthy of a second effort salute, then please tell us about them. You can write to us at Time for Living, care of Second Effort Salute, Post Office Box 8452, Boston, Massachusetts 02114.
Or you can leave a message on our voicemail at 800-232-7213 or fax us at 617-329-1774.
When we come back, a look at some British museums and their treasures.
And we'll go stateside to see the Smithsonian's variety of collections. So don't go away. Traveling Around is next right here on Time for Living. Welcome back to Time for Living. I'm Howard Nielsen.
I'm Janet Jagalian, and it's time for our Traveling Around feature, where we take you to places all over the world.
And it's a cheap way for you to see some of the world's most beautiful countries, exotic beaches, breathtaking architecture, and fascinating people.
You'll find out if it's a trip you want to take, if there's a cheap way to get there, and if they've considered your traveling needs.
Now, today's Traveling Around is focusing on the treasures of Britain and America, where the past is saved in their museums. Our first stop is Britain, And my co-host, Janet, narrates what we see in today's first Traveling Around destination.
There are no shortages of museums in Great Britain. More than 2,500 museums and galleries at last count, with new ones opening all the time. Plenty of company at Britain's great art galleries. Places like the Tate Gallery in London have long been magnets for tourists. More than 19 million foreign visitors spent over $13 billion in Britain in 1994 alone. Places like the Tate are on the main tourist circuit. Yet royal museums have a different but equally important market. This folk museum in Northern Ireland gives visitors a chance to gain a different insight into history by living it. Traveling with grandchildren? You may want to visit the Eureka Children's Museum in Yorkshire. Since opening in the early 1990s, it has attracted crowds of youngsters both in school groups or with parents, grandparents, and friends. Places like Eureka are valuable in giving them a taste for knowledge that could very well continue into maturity.
I think it's so important that they first of all have that feeling of achievement and satisfaction. And I hope when they go out, they're asking even more questions than they were when they came in, so that the world outside that they go to looks more interesting and more exciting than it was when they came here.
This is the Natural History Museum in London, and these bones are from a creature that swam in the ocean more than a century ago. The blue whale is the largest mammal the world has ever known and a big attraction at the museum since it arrived in 1860. More than 1 million people visit this museum every year, making it one of Britain's most popular. Isn't that great?
Yes.
And you know, they clean those bones one at a time with a very special vacuum.
Well, that certainly keeps somebody busy. Now, it's time to come back home and see what treasures one of America's most popular museums has to offer as we travel to Washington, D.C. to visit the Smithsonian Institution. And once again, Janet provides us with the facts and figures on today's second Traveling Around destination.
You can spend your entire vacation at Washington's Smithsonian Institution and not see it all. It has over 100 million artifacts and specimens in its trust for the increase and diffusion of knowledge among men. Check out the exhibits in the Art and Industries Building. Built in 1881 to exhibit materials from the Centennial Exhibition in Philadelphia, the building is an architectural showcase from the Victorian period. The National Museum of American History reminds us of past experiences that affect our lives today. It contains millions of collectibles, artifacts that reflect various facets of our daily life and popular culture. The Smithsonian's National Museum of Natural History is one of the world's great centers for the study of human cultures and the astonishing diversity of nature. Scientists have learned how to recreate ecosystems in captivity. Other researchers are trying to reconstruct the puzzle of the Earth's adolescence when giant animals roam the land. Upstairs, you'll find the Smithsonian's Minerals Collection, including one of the most popular museum attractions, the Hope Diamond. Across the mall, one of the most visited museums in the world, the National Air and Space Museum. It's here you'll find legendary aircraft including Wilbur and Orville Wright's first airplane, Lindbergh's Spirit of St. Louis, and the Apollo 11 space capsule that brought man to the moon. Visitors can walk through a backup Skylab or touch a moon rock. The circular shape of the Hirshhorn Museum makes it easy to find. The Hirshhorn offers a vast collection of modern art in a dramatic setting. Outside, a sunken garden is home to monumental works of sculpture by European and American masters. The Freer Gallery has one of the finest collections of Asian art in the world. Complementing the Asian art are works by 19th century Americans, including the colorful Peacock Room by James McNeill Whistler. You'll find ancient art at the Arthur M. Sackler Gallery. Asian art from 5,000 years ago, including ancient Chinese bronzes and gold and silver from pre-Islamic times. Every stamp collector should visit the National Postal Museum. It tells the colorful story of our country's mail service. You'll see rare and one-of-a-kind stamps presented in a highly interactive setting. Sharing the old patent office buildings, the National Portrait Gallery, and the National Museum of American Art. Its treasures include a broad range of painting, sculpture, graphics, photographs, and folk art. The National Portrait Gallery offers a special view of America through the portraits of men and women who have made significant contributions to its history and culture. Less than a block away from the White House is the Renwick Gallery. This building was Washington's first art gallery. Furnished in the opulent style of the 1860s and 70s, the Renwick highlights 20th century American crafts. The final stop on the Smithsonian tour is the National Zoo. It's home to more than 4,000 wild animals, reptiles, and sea creatures. Nearly a quarter of the animals at the National Zoo belong to rare or endangered species, and the zoo has been successful in returning some of these creatures to their native habitats. Bring your walking shoes. There's plenty to see and do at Washington's Smithsonian Institution. What an incredible variety of treasures.
Yeah, it certainly is. And it appears to also be very interactive as well. Well, if you want to learn more about the places you've seen in our Traveling Around segments, you can write to us at Time for Living, care of Traveling Around, P.O. Box 8452, Boston, Massachusetts, 02114.
Or you can leave your comments or questions on our voicemail by calling 800-232-7213 or fax us at 617-329-1774. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll have more Time for Living when we come back. Welcome back to Time for Living. In today's Health, Finance, and More, the subject is assets.
When it comes to retirement assets, many people know they want to keep their income high from assets while lowering their expenses. But most people may not anticipate expenses that can be hidden in their assets. Time for Living's financial expert Steve Burke tells us what we need to investigate with or without our financial advisor.
Today we're going to talk about getting the most from your assets in retirement. With rare exception, most people entering retirement instinctively know they want to accomplish certain things. At the top of the list is keeping expenses low, income high, and guarantee as much as possible that they don't get blindsided by unexpected expenses. What follows are some areas to research yourself or review with your financial advisor. Not all the products or strategies fit everyone, but being aware that these options exist should give you ideas or alternate possibilities to consider. Keeping expenses low should be closely examined in a very clinical manner. Specifically, an approach to look at is the removal of assets which require expenditures of money, such as land, which involves real estate taxes, summer property, or the maintenance of a rarely used vehicle. If you're not going to use it, get rid of it, or make a gift to a child, other family member, or possibly your favorite charity. The insurance costs associated with collections such as guns or exotic antiques may be better handled by someone else, or the excise tax on a boat turned over to another person. Another way to keep costs down and income up is the possible use of a private annuity. This entails transferring income property to another, generally a child or children, which removes the expenses involved and generates income for life. Thus, its description is a private annuity. This type of action should be taken very carefully, but given the right circumstances, can be a good way of lowering the cost and aggravation of income property, a two-family house, for instance. At the same time, setting up a private annuity in connection with this approach can provide income to you and or your spouse, while possibly reducing estate tax costs. Make sure that you thoroughly research the pros and cons before committing yourself to this particular plan. Reducing taxes can be accomplished by purchasing municipal bonds or bond funds or income annuities. In the case of the right bonds, those which are federal and tax exempt, you may well end up having more spendable income because you have no reduction in the income generated. Almost the same results can be accomplished through the purchase of an income annuity. Part of the income received by you from this product is considered a return of premium and therefore not taxable. More income, less tax expense. For those of you paying more than $2,000 in federal income taxes, the use of tax credits may be a good way to have more money to spend because you can reduce the actual taxes which you would pay without the tax credit. Again, as in all financial planning, make sure to check the effect of your actions before you actually take action. Tax credits are a bit restrictive and therefore not for everyone. As with most plans, they are fine for the right set of circumstances because they can lower your taxes for a number of years. However, if you don't want to lower your taxes or feel that you won't have much of a tax problem in the future, it's probably best not to get involved. Finally, to help you develop a sensible, no-nonsense budget, it is good to determine cost of future expenses whenever possible. Ironically, and sad to say, because we are living longer, there are costs which may appear in your financial horizon. These we all know to be high and often long-term. They come under the heading of medical bills or nursing home care or both. Depending upon your finances, your present health, and income sources available to you, you should investigate Medicare supplement plans. Also available for those over 65 are coverages which take the place of Medicare and often are much cheaper. But be careful to look everything offered to you closely. For example, if you anticipate being sick a lot and therefore under doctor's care or in the hospital, check to see what the exclusions will be. You don't want to find that your plan won't let you get a second opinion or has some other fine print preventing you from getting the help you feel you need. In this area of exposure is nursing home care, what is now often called long-term care. This is a financial cost which can be devastating. Your financial advisor should be able to assess the best approach or plan for you. Cost of $30,000 per year and up can destroy assets set aside for retirement needs. The help is there, the assets are yours, so plan to do some planning to protect what you have and get the most use from the funds you've built up for a comfortable retirement. This is Steve Burke, Time for Living.
If you have any questions or comments for Steve Burke, then you can write to him here at Time for Living, care of Health, Finance, and More, P.O. Box 8452, Boston, Massachusetts, 02114.
Or again, you can leave a message on our voicemail by calling 800-232-7213 or just fax your question to 617-329-1774.
When we come back, a look at how you can still get an education in an environment embracing the whole educational experience. Stay with us.
Welcome back. With many older people helping their children or even their grandchildren get an education, they often defer their dreams of earning a degree.
In this week's Newsbreak, a look at one program that makes sure these students not only get an education, but that they get the atmosphere of going to school as well. Time for Living's Carolyn Murdoch tells us how they do it.
Says to the tutor.
The My Turn program at Manhattan's Kingsborough Community College offers older Americans higher education, tuition-free. Many have helped their own children or grandchildren through school, but they've never had the opportunity themselves.
This is their time. This is their turn to come and get the benefits of higher education. And the college has a variety of courses that are made available to them so that they can pick and choose those things that they're most interested in. It's their time, their turn.
The My Turn students attend the same classes as the younger ones, walk the same halls, eat lunch in the same cafeteria. They even have their own newspaper with a strong emphasis on campus news.
I want articles about some of the teachers, the faculty, the life of our students and the regular students on the campus.
There's really not much difference between the My Turners and the so-called regular students, except for age, of course.
To some, you become the father figure. If they have a problem, they come to you. To others, you're just their peer. They don't look at you as an older person. You're just one of the gang. And it's a lot of fun being just one of the boys.
While some My Turn students are pursuing degrees, others second or even third careers, most are enrolled simply for the sake of greater knowledge.
This is it. This is my turn. I've been waiting for. I'm in no hurry, and I'm going to absorb as much as I can.
Kingsborough officials call My Turn anything but a one-way street. The older students bring maturity and experience to the classroom, and that benefits everyone. I'm Carolyn Murdoch. Time for Living.
Well, My Turn is certainly an appropriate way to, get back to school.
You know, it isn't just the education, it's also the atmosphere. They seem to be enjoying it so much. It's time for us to introduce you to a new segment on Time for Living. It's called Medical Minute.
It's a segment that looks at medical issues and provides you with tips and or suggestions that'll hopefully inform and assist you to have a healthier and more productive life.
For instance, what is a good night's sleep? And that's a question best answered by the way you feel and perform during the day. A recent study of older adults showed that between 10 to 20% of the elderly complain of persistent insomnia, with women outnumbering men 2 to 1.
And, while we don't know what a normal sleep pattern is for older adults, we do know that our usual sleep pattern changes over the decades. For more about insomnia in this week's Medical Minute, we turn to Dr. Alan Abrams, Medical Director for the Division of Geriatrics at the Cambridge Hospital and Harvard Medical School.
The basic differences in sleeping patterns between the young and healthy elderly are threefold. 1, a tendency to shift sleep and wake hours to an earlier time of the day. 2, an increase in time in trying to sleep. And 3, a tendency towards having more shallow sleep. As older adults, we tend to spend more time in bed trying to get to sleep, experience less time in the deepest part of the sleep cycle, and thus are prone to more numerous and subtle awakenings, leaving us more apt to want to sleep during the day. However, all changes in sleep associated with aging are not necessarily without cause. In addition to the changing sleep patterns in healthy elderly, many have sleep disrupted by various medical conditions or the treatment for these medical conditions. Everything from digestive disorders to arthritis and pain, to cardiac conditions, to medication or depression can disrupt sleep. Men are often beckoned from sleep by the call of the prostate. Each medically related situation requires careful analysis and consideration by your physician. Your doctor should ask the following questions. Has there been a recent adverse life event contributing to the sleep complaint? Is there a new or chronic medical disorder or treatment which could be the cause of the sleep disturbance? Is there an issue with self-medications or misuse of substances, particularly alcohol? Is there the presence of a psychiatric disorder, such as depression or anxiety? Is there a primary medical sleeping disorder? If there is no medical or psychiatric cause of the sleep disturbance, then the most important question to ask when considering treatment is my daytime alertness and function adequate? If the sleep problem interferes with daytime functions and alertness, or increases the risk of illness, then evaluation for treatment by your physician is warranted. Non-pharmacological measures are superior to medications. Abstain from alcohol, caffeine, and keep busy during the day. Don't let yourself sleep. When medically feasible, exercise can be very helpful. Relaxation techniques such as guided imagery, biofeedback, and meditation may also provide relief. Be comfortable in your bed and bed clothing. Avoid loud noises, bright light, and hunger. When all else fails, your physician may enlist the help of a pharmacological agent. But as with other medications, there is no guarantee of their success or complete safety. I'm Dr. Alan Abrams with this week's Medical Minute.
If you have any questions or comments for Dr. Alan Abrams, then write to him here at Time for Living, care of Medical Minute, P.O. Box 8452, Boston, Massachusetts, 02114.
Or again, you can leave a message on our voicemail by calling 800-232-7213, or just fax your question to 617-329-1774. We'll have a preview of what's ahead on the next Time for Living.
We'll be right back. Stay with us. Okay, welcome back to Time for Living. Now, as promised, a look at one of the features for next week's show.
We'll show you a new program that assists people living alone who may need help in an emergency. It all works through a computer system that will contact the police if there's a problem. It even calls you to check and see if everything is okay. All you have to do is tell the computer you're okay and hang up. We'll find out more next week. Thanks for joining us this week. Before we go, we'd like to welcome our new viewers in Pittsburgh, the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., South Florida, Chicago, San Diego, Los Angeles, and San Francisco.
We're glad you're watching, and we certainly hope you enjoyed what you saw today. We look forward to seeing you again next week.
We'd also like to give you our address and phone numbers one more time. It's Time for Living, P.O. Box 8452, Boston, Massachusetts, 02114.
And the phone number is 800-232-7213, and the fax is 617-329-1774. We'd love to hear from you, so pick up the phone and drop us a line with any questions or comments. And remember, it's time for living.